Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat. And this is the place writers like to gather together, and we talk about all things writing, about writing, and for writers, and by writers. So we're really glad to have everybody with us today in the chat, or if you're watching by replay, we really appreciate the time that you do to your writing career. And we're excited because all three co-hosts are here this week. My name's Jean Wise, and I'm joined by Johnny Alexander and Bethany Jett. And Bethany's taking the lead today, and so I'm going to turn it over to Bethany to tell what our topic is today and introduce our first person on the hot seat.
Okay, so this is super fun. If you were with us last week, Michelle Medlock-Adams, my business partner and co-author, and I were doing mini strategy sessions, which we do through our company, Platinum Literary Services. And we usually do an hour-long session. So these are going to be like bite-sized pieces. So it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose sometimes. So I'm going to try to not do that, but try to give like some real good, maybe some tips and things. And we've got three amazing women. I was very excited reading through the information they sent over. And right now we're starting off with Annette Whipple. And okay, so I've had the pleasure of kind of getting background on Annette's projects and things. And just like last week, Annette, do you want to go ahead and share, kind of get people up to speed with the projects that you're working on right now? And then I will say that the goal, one thing that you wanted to take away was focus, style, and brand, and things like that. And I had actually like a lot of tips that weren't that too. So we're just gonna go.
Okay. So currently I have 5 books out. They're all for the educational market, which means that they're for schools and libraries, and they focus on history, social studies, science. However, next year I have my first trade book coming out, which means it'll be easily available in bookstores. And that is the Laura Ingalls Wilder Companion, a chapter by chapter guide. And so that is a companion guide to Laura Ingalls Wilder's Little House book. So it's focusing on history. There are, it includes 75 activities in it. About 500 words are defined. So that's one project. So that's, very history oriented. Parents, teachers, homeschool parents are a secondary audience, but really the book is for kids. And I also have an offer for a nature-based, I can't give too many details, but a nature-based nonfiction picture book. And I'm saying nonfiction is really more informational because there are some elements in there that where the animal talks, and animals don't really talk, so it's not true. Not every element is not nonfiction. So those are the 2 big projects, and I'm hoping that there will be more things going on as well. So, but that's what's going on right now. I do author visits to schools. I talk to teachers as well. I do workshops for writers. So I am a former teacher, and I still love to teach. And that's all part of this as well. So I think that's me in a nutshell for right now.
Okay, so I just gotta say, I am so impressed with you, Annette. Like, you really take the time, you follow steps, like you do all the things that you need to do, and you do them thoughtfully. And even when I was and I knew this about you already, but even when I was going through, your questionnaire, I was just like, you are basically like an agent and editor's dream because you've got the components. And I want to say for everybody who's watching, Victoria Dewar-Stock, who's on here a lot, she and I were chatting yesterday, about the book launch. And I told her in the marketing classes, I keep looking for the secret sauce because I'm almost at the end of the whole grad school, and there isn't one. Like, we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, like in these campaigns, email and social media and articles and press releases, and combining that, and you're doing that in a really good way. So I just want to say props, and then props to everybody because we're doing the right stuff. We just got to do more of it. So anyway, so I wanted to just let that be an encouragement to everybody. All right, so I know brand and style are the things that you want to get to. So I wanted to kind of throw some ideas at you on a content marketing side, because that's where I'm pretty strong. And then maybe we can then tie into how all of that would go to style and brand. So people in the comments, Jeannie, Stephanie, Mom, if you guys want to be thinking about how style and brand are going to work into this, that would be great. So I love your tagline that you put in the chat just a second ago. It was curiosity and wonder.
Inspiring
I love
curiosity
that.
and wonder.
And you can even shorten it to curiosity and wonder too, like with hashtags and stuff. Like I think that's amazing because everything can go into that whole theme.
Okay.
And I think that's a brand in and of itself. And brands take a long time. So even though you're niching into like nature for this one or history or biographies, because you've got these, you're really nonfiction for children's. That's your brand. And then you're just going underneath these different avenues. And so I kind of think that's the whole of who you are.
I think so too. Thank you.
So I had some ideas for reach in terms of marketing.
Okay.
Because like with the books coming out, like all these connections are going to work for you at that point. So on social, I think Pinterest is going to be a huge platform for you coming from the homeschool mom background and not knowing what I was doing. So I think there's probably a lot of moms who homeschool who are like starting out or trying to figure out what they're going to do curriculum wise. So I would look into Teachers Pay Teachers, education.com, easy peasy, that homeschool one. She does like all free resources. Okay. Maybe about creating worksheets based in nature, based on Laura Ingalls, with some of these elements. They can be real simple, like the education.com ones. They're so easy. Like I could give them to my kids and they could kind of figure them out without a lot of help. And you're a teacher, so like you would know exactly what elements to put in there. But I searched Pinterest for all of that stuff. Even when I would Google it, it took me to Pinterest pages.
It does, yes.
So I think that's going to be like a huge, huge platform. Do a lot of freebies, free things on Laura Ingalls. I would also, something else I was looking up a lot was Netflix shows to watch with my kids for homeschool. And so those always have to be updated. And so you could do like a best Netflix 2019, best Amazon Prime 2019, and just give them like 5 or 10 with the links there. That was so invaluable. And I started following the women who did that because I felt like I could trust them and they knew what I needed for my kids, like at lunchtime, things like that. And then with curiosity and wonder, you could do Wonder Wednesdays. And then you could do like a fun fact and then in the caption of Instagram, which would push over to Facebook for you, the activity. Like, and just write it out right there. Don't force them to go back to the blog. I would have that same information on a blog post so that you're owning the content there and that it's searchable in that way. But I would put that same thing on Pinterest, and then on Instagram I would say, things needed, a cup and a pencil, step 1, 2, 3. It can be 3 steps, and then they can screenshot on their phones. And then you could even do the activity in your story. So a lot of times I get more engagement in my Instagram story than I do on my actual feed. And that's common actually, because the stories on Instagram have just like 500 million a day, I think is what people are watching now. And so if you've got the activity on your feed, you can take a screenshot of the activity, post that to start the story, and then just have the items there and just walk a mom through, for this week, how to do like a rubbing of like leaves, like on the paper, whatever you want to do. But I think that kind of stuff, that builds loyal followers because they know every week they're going to get something super simple with stuff they probably have in their house. And then because you're doing simple things, if they want to go to the next step on your website, you've got the blog post, but then you also have like for the next grade level or take it a step further. And then you can also then build conversation on Facebook that way too. Am I going too fast? Because I feel like I'm talking really fast.
I'm not taking notes or anything. I'm going to listen to the replay, and so
okay.
I said because you need to, because I'm just listening and absorbing right now.
Okay.
So.
And then another thing I think you could do I would do like 4 weeks. That's where I would start. Is 4 weeks of this. Pick 4 things. Let that be like a main post on your blog. Pull it to Pinterest, then pin 10 pins around the same idea. Make that something on Instagram that goes out. After you have the 4 weeks, I might even do 5 weeks actually, because odd numbers are better. So I might do 5 weeks, and then I would take all of that content and put it into an email campaign funnel. So when someone subscribes, they're going to get 5 different lessons, which they could do Monday through Friday. You've already got the content and the feedback from the content that you've done in the previous 5 weeks. And then have the opt-in. So now you're collecting emails. They're getting all 5 lessons as a download, and then you do it again. So like once you do the 5 weeks, that goes out. Now you've got an email campaign being pushed, and now you're moving to the next 5. Right. And eventually you've got enough content, especially if you did it like for a 3 to 6 months time frame, where you can then start selling those as packages. $4.99, $3.99, like super inexpensive, but they're proven and women are already talking about it and Pinterest is being pushed. Okay. And so like you could even do, you could probably easily do 5 weeks on Laura Ingalls Wilder, just pull little things out of the book, pre-launch for it coming out, because then everyone who's in that 5 weeks on Laura Ingalls for their study, then the ask comes in, hey, we've got this book, pre-order, whatever you're wanting them to do for a book launch. And then for the nature book, then I would start with Laura Ingalls and then I would start on the nature stuff, right? Because then again, you're prepping for that ask for the book. Mm-hmm. And then one thing I'm doing, and I don't have enough data to tell you how well it's working yet, because I think I'm trying to teach people to do another click. But this is a strategy that we're trying at Serious Writer, and I'm trying for me, is inside of the newsletter that goes out on email, I'm wanting them to create a conversation, even if you do this on your blog, over on Facebook, maybe instead of the comments on the blog. Because sometimes it can be frustrating to comment on a website. Like WordPress makes you jump through hoops and put in passwords and like, I don't remember, and then I'm done and I don't want to comment anymore. But Facebook is more shareable and like you can comment back easier. And so Michael Hyatt did this, but he would send you back to his Facebook page, but not the actual post about the conversation that was happening on the topic. So I'm not searching for it. Like 3 times I did that and I was just on his page. So taking that idea, what we've been doing is creating a picture. It has to be a graphic or video. And then putting the stuff in the caption side of it. And then when you click and you open the picture or video up, so that's the primary thing on your Facebook, that has a direct URL. And so we're copying that URL and putting it into the newsletter or on the blog. So when we say, hey, leave a comment here, when they click that, they're going into our Facebook, but they're also going to that direct page where people have commented. So like right now we're kind of teaching our audience to do that by going over and we're doing giveaways if you comment on the video, and that's how we're doing it. So that's also what we're going to do for our mom book as part of the email. I think I froze. I saw myself freeze. That's what we're going to be doing there too. So it's a little bit of pre-work on Facebook, but then people are going to start commenting because they're going to see it organically. And then when you start driving people there through your website and then through there, all of a sudden this can get really, really big and people can start joining that way. So I'm looking at like a marathon type of thing with that too.
So the special link that you're referring to, is that like you make a post and then you just save that post and then you always just refer back to it? Or is this like more of a special link than that?
I can actually screen share and show that if you guys want.
I'd be interested to see it.
Yes. And people want to know why odd numbers are better. There's been some guesses.
They just are.
What?
They just are. Like if you search psychology of numbers for posts and stuff, that will always tell you to put an odd number. I don't know.
It's unique. It's unique. It stands out more, I would think.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. And like, it's not gonna work now that I'm sharing it. Okay, so this is just what I had open here. Okay. So this is on you can see this is on our wall. So if I click that, I get this direct URL here, and that's what I copy and paste in that. So that way, the comments here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you click again?
I clicked on the photo.
On the photo.
Open the photo big, and it'll do it for a video too. So, when you're creating I would batch the content. So you already you could honestly probably do this like within just a couple days or however much time that you're spending on this, but a lot of this could be done at the same time. Like your graphics on Facebook, you want to get them in there or schedule them to post like on a certain day. And then you'll have to go back and actually get the links, or if you don't mind flooding your whatever, or if it's on your page, which is what I recommend, you can schedule. So that's what I would do, is do a direct schedule through Facebook that way, because Facebook likes that a little bit better. And then I would have those same graphics scheduled to go out on Twitter, go out on, through, if you're using Tailwind for Pinterest or whatever, but I think Pinterest and Instagram are going to be 2 hot markets for you, along with Facebook. And I think you've got so much great content here with the nonfiction, that fun facts, tidbits. I would do a Laura Ingalls watch party. I would have like recipes for the food in there. I would do braids, because she always had those 2 braids. So you could have a whole conversation about how people braid their hair. Those are the kind of things that people like to talk about. Yeah. And it pulls back in to your book. Mom, remember I always had pigtails? I hated them. So that could be a question. Like, were you forced to wear pigtails as a child, and did you hate, like, I don't know. Yeah. That's just some of the stuff I'm thinking about.
So at this point, and I know that you know, Bethany, but I'll just share with others that I do have, it's currently called Little House Companion blog, and I have a Facebook page to go with that. That will be changing as soon as the title is confirmed, and it will likely be the Laura Ingalls Wilder Companion. We know it won't be the Little House Companion, that's a definite. But I'm not going to change my URL and everything until we know for sure. But with, and for my newsletter subscribers, I currently am offering each month trivia for a specific book. Each month is going to be different. So that's one thing that I am doing now to bring in subscribers. And I belong to several Little House, Laura Ingalls Wilder type of groups on Facebook, but Facebook is where those groups are.
Yeah, I wouldn't use Facebook. I wouldn't leave it.
Yes. And I haven't really found Instagram to be big for the Little House community at this point. And maybe that's,
Instagram?
Yes.
You're probably right about that. I would, but you will find moms there and homeschool moms, and they might want to do a Laura Ingalls 4-week study. Yeah. So that's what I would be going homeschool basis there and on Pinterest, and just use that as like a part of it to sneak in, there. But nature, health, food, anything like that you can tie in like with the other stuff. And recipes are huge on Pinterest and Instagram. So that would be a way to like pull in Laura.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Catherine said something about redirecting the URL so you don't lose the traffic. I agree. I would be, if you have a lot of traffic going to your Facebook URL, that's a little scary.
Wait, say that again.
Are you changing your author page or just the page for the book?
The blog.
Your whole website?
Yes. Not creating a new one, just changing, redirecting to a new URL.
Redirecting?
Yes, redirecting. Okay.
So you're not losing your traffic?
No.
Or numbers?
I will be able to change the name of my page without losing those followers as well.
Okay. All right, good. So you got a plan for that, which is good.
Yes.
I'm just curious, as she talks about a branding of creativity and wonder, if there's a neat image that we could brainstorm, what captures that? Those are so intangible. I'm just curious. I'm curious about curiosity. What's an image? And maybe some people in the chat may throw something out too.
Well, there are on Pixabay. I have seen these images, and they may be a little bit cliche and overused now. I don't know, but it could give you a start. But it has the open book, and then it has like things coming out of it, like trees and birds and berries, or there's different ones. So you could, you might be able to come up with something like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
This is a card that my sister sent me. She that was her doodle.
Oh wow.
She calls it a doodle, but it takes her a long time to do it.
That's beautiful.
Yes. And there's a quote that she put on the inside too that just is very inspiring. But
that's perfect. You got that, then.
Yeah, I like that. That's
and so talking about a little bit about the image right now. So that's my business card right now, and there are just some leaves coming out of Whipple, the last name, some colorful leaves. But I've also thought about changing that so it's not so sciencey.
No, you know what? Can you hold that card up again? I don't want to interrupt you, but before we get off this, Jeannie, don't laugh. I love your font. And I love how, I just love it. I think it's so appropriate for what you're doing. It's easy to read, it's big, it's blocky, but there's this kind of fun thing to it too. Love the font.
If anyone is interested in that font if you're looking for fun and blocky and maybe a little kid friendly, it's called Luckiest Sky. Yeah.
I like that. Actually, just to explain to people, Johnny's got a thing for fonts.
I do. I do, and we don't talk enough about them, right? I mean, I was at this off track, just real quick. I was at a basketball game, high school basketball game. Bethany was cheering. I'm sitting with a friend, and I just said, I really like the fonts on that team's jerseys. And my friend just looked at me like, only you, only you. But yes.
It's a writer's thing, as Leslie said. It's a writer's thing, yeah.
So I wanted to kudos on the font and before moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're at time, but I would be interested in, like, we're not homeschooling now, but like all those things I would adore you for. And I will tell you too, Twitter, I would do 5% on Twitter because it's so conversational, but I found and followed a few amazing homeschool moms, and they were sharing resources. That's all their Twitter kind of was a resource share. And I would go there to look for stuff too, and ended up, following them. Then I found them on Instagram. I'm kind of became a cult. So like when you find someone that you really like, so I would do. But I would not ignore Twitter for that. I would say and I would shoot into your website at that point, because if you're putting your pillar content there and then you're pushing everything out from that, that's where I would direct send them. And I would monitor that over 3 to 6 months, like how often you're posting on there and the feedback you're getting, and ramp it up. But I mean, I wouldn't spend a lot of time there, but I would not ignore it.
Okay, thank you.
Based on consumer behavior, I wouldn't ignore it.
And Annette, when you watch the replay, we'll be sure, I don't know if it's Melissa or Johnny, somebody will copy the chat and have that on the page too, because there have been some little suggestions on fonts, for example, in the chat. So we want to be sure you see some of their suggestions.
Yeah.
That Melissa's copy in the chat, she said. So yes.
And Rhonda makes a good point that you do want to use a font that you can use on your website, so that there's that thing. So yes, fonts are important.
That sounds great.
And
Go ahead.
I downloaded the font so that when I am putting text on an image or creating an image for my website, this is for my author website, not for the Little House website. That's a different font. But I can use the same font, and I learned that from Bethany about kind of keeping things, the colors, the fonts, the same. So
yeah, people will recognize you for that over time.
You taught me that. Thank you.
Yay! Yeah, I'm impressed with everything you're doing. Honestly, I think you're doing everything right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. So where to next, Bethany? We went.
Let's pull in Marlene, and then we'll pull in Stephanie, because Stephanie's doing fiction, and so like I'm really gonna need my mom to balance me on that one since she's a novelist. So
there's Marlene. Yeah.
I'm a novelist, but I'm not good at marketing, so we'll see how this. I mean, I'm gonna have to have Bethany help me with my marketing too. But I'll do my best. It's a whole different ball game, though, isn't it? I mean, it's if you read a lot on marketing as a novelist, you have to be aware that what is often out there is geared toward the nonfiction author, and we're just a bit different.
Which is why I think you should use it for nonfiction elements.
Why what? I'm sorry, say again.
That's why I think for novelists, if you use the nonfiction elements.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. If you can do that, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
I feel kind of scattered when I try to do that, though, because I don't think I have. But this isn't my time. This is Marlene's time, so we'll just go. Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. Not only did I have the privilege of going through Marlene's sheets, but I was also, and this is a true privilege, to be able to see her book proposal too, because we like to keep those nice and tight and in. And I loved it, Marlene. I loved your proposal. So I'm excited. Do you want to start off and let people know what you're working on so that they know what we're talking about when I reference things? It's Bible studies, primarily, I think. So why don't you go ahead, and I'm just going to look through my notes again to refresh, and then we'll get started.
I basically write Bible studies for women And I'm working on a certain Bible study and have been doing it for a long time. But I did branch out into making videos. So I'm getting ready to make some videos that accompany it. And I just, this past week, agreed upon a logo with a designer. And so I've got a logo, a style sheet. I just haven't uploaded it to my website yet. And so I'm excited about the different ways that I can get the truth out. But I'm still very much in the process of trying to figure out how to put it all together in a marketing sense.
That makes sense. Okay, so one thing in your proposal, I even like started highlighting words in your proposal because I thought you did such a good job. You've got a real nice grasp of putting words together that we don't often like use. I mean, they were very like powerful. My mom would say they're not passive. They were strong. They were strong words. Like I liked this line for the back cover copy. She's going, and then the last part is he meaning God invites us to dig deep into the drama, chaos, and fiery emotions of Bible women. And I love the drama, chaos, and fiery emotions. I mean, I saw it, right? Like I just love that. And then your thing is patterns. Like there's this theme of patterns of emotion. And I thought, well, right there, I mean, you can start doing patterns of everything, and sort of like underneath the Marlene brand, you can start talking about patterns. And even in the book proposal, when you scroll down, you talk about the pattern of contrasts, which I thought was a fascinating phrase. I don't know if I've ever heard, and I had to think about what that meant. And I thought that was so intriguing as like a tagline. I mean, you could do an entire 3 months of content based on just that, because I know that's something that you want to look at with with emotions, you know, the power of emotions. And I think then you can dig into the personality stuff, which is so hot right now. Like all these little things that are sub shoots of that, and understanding how the relationships work together, which is also something you're talking about in your study. And then you said balance. I want to find it, so I'm saying it exactly. It was transforming patterns from the lives of Bible women, which I think is great because there's so many female Bible characters to talk about. The main ones that we always talk about, and then you were even pulling in people that we don't know very much about in the Bible, but yet using their situations to address like emotions. I think the possibilities with this are actually endless, quite honestly. So I think what you should do, here's what I would do from a marketing content standpoint. I would pick some of the basic emotions that women go through. I would start with the pattern of contrast, because that's just kind of a really cool thing. You could use it as a hashtag. And I would do 5 or 7. I'd probably do 7. And then I would do 7 blog posts. So that could be 7 once a week, which is kind of the model that I'm trying to go into. But if you blog more and it's consistent, then that's fine. But I would do 7 blog posts, and kind of the same model that we were going through with Annette. Go really deep on one emotion for the week, and then pull sub-content out for social media. But then I would also maybe write a devotional to go along with it, since your aspect is Bible studies, so that you could send it into like cbn.com, or maybe some of these other places that are online. So every week you've got an article that you can do like a multiple submission with on it. And so over 7 weeks, you're sending out a lot of articles to a lot of different places, or even a lot of devotionals from just that one blog post, and then creating content on there. And then I would do the same. It's the same model we're using with our book. Same when I told Annette, take the 7 weeks. Once you've got that and you've got the feedback on it, turn it into a 7-day email campaign. They can sign up for that. They get all 7 days because the content's done. And then within each day, the email that goes out to them is very short. It's very personal. It's here's a little bit about this emotion. They can read more on your blog, so you are pointing them back to your website from that, because that's not how they're getting there, right? These people are coming in probably from a landing page because they want to get the 7 little mini, it's really a 7 little mini Bible study, 7 days in under 7 minutes. You could even play on that because you want to save time, right? So every day they're going to get something. That was really the big thing. And then you're doing everything right. You did mention that before you're using a scheduler, you wanted to do a content creation system, and I saw that pop up a couple of times. Can you talk to me about the content creation system that you want to create?
I really enjoyed I can't remember what it was, but it was live, and you gave us a free download sheet on content creation, but the important thing to me was you gave me examples of what you did, and it kind of helped me. I'm still a little bit blind when it comes to content creation, especially multi-purposing it, and so I'm very visual, so I guess I just need a content creation plan, and I came up with my own 3 to 4 categories. I did. The thing about it is, I was advised at a Christian Writers Conference not to have an author page on Facebook. I think at the time it was going through all those changes that it went through, but don't have an author page. So I think I need to get one, but I'm not quite sure how much hullabaloo, as we say in the South, to accompany it with, or just to create it and not make a big splash out of it. I like the idea of having a page, so creating a page and having a plan for creating content.
Okay, so what were the 3 or 4? I think the content 6 worksheet, I think is what we're talking about, where you have like the 6 squares and you kind of put in, and you don't have to have 6. What were the 3? Do you mind sharing like what yours were?
No, not at all. It was personal, like you said, and of course I would love to share my faith and my Bible studies. I guess that all goes under one heading. I can't remember the other 2, but it was something like, I like to share other people's posts. I'm on the board of a couple of nonprofits. I always try to share their posts. And then the last one would be either things like, I love crafts, or I love very unusual things.
Okay, so based on that, here's what I think your 6 things could be for now, because it can always, switch out. So I think Bible studies is one as your broad category, and then writing could go underneath of that, like things to post for it. I would also, under Bible studies, find other Bible studies that people are doing that you like, or ones that are coming out, or ones that you want to promote. And I would simply take a picture of it, or take a screenshot on Amazon, whatever. But I would go to the bookstore, hold it, get a picture of it in front of there, or the library, so that you not only are doing the Bible studies, but you're sharing other people's, on the topics, especially over emotions. I think balanced career and faith was something else I saw in your proposal. So I would have Bible studies and everything that has to do with Bible studies. You said personal, but I would put crafts in there as well, because then you can kind of do tutorials. Crafts is huge. I mean, Kyle was saying, like, just a few months ago, there were publishers begging for craft books, like how-tos. So, I mean, like, that, I would start, anyone who's doing crafts, I would start writing that, trend right now. And, like, whatever kind of craft you do, start doing stuff and engaging with the community, specifically on Instagram. The crafting community is so big. And there's a lot of people who cross things, like Bible journaling. That's very crafty. You've got people on there who do watercolors, and they create stuff for people to buy. So Bible journaling would hit under Bible studies, but it would also hit underneath the crafty side. So I would start digging into that community specifically. And then if you wanted to do the balanced career and faith stuff, that could be a third one, because that also would work with your Bible studies as well. Just, it could be a tip. It could be a Working Woman Wednesday. Anytime you can put a day with it, there's usually hashtag trends that can go on there. It's like, it makes me feel like I have a reason for sharing it because I'm attached to it.
I'm sorry, what was that category?
You could do Working Women Wednesday, and you could say, here's a tip, or, here's a book, or some kind of resource, how not to stress out, before you're working from home or whatever. And then the nonprofit, I think that could be a whole separate thing, because that has a charitable side to it, and I just think that's amazing, and it puts a social cause. Mom.
Okay, I got a little distracted, so you may have said this, but I don't think you did. I like the idea when Bethany was reading off your proposal about the biblical women that we don't often hear about. And I think it would be great to do little vignettes or something like that on those women. And I think that would draw people really to your book. Because I think a lot of us do, we have a fascination with these women that lived so long ago and the times that they were in, and we hear things about them, but how deeply do we really know them, and all that kind of thing. And it amazes me that books like this continue to come out. So it's like people obviously feel like there is more to be said. There's the classic ones, but now, I saw one not too long ago, another one had come out, and it's just, if you could pull people to scripture that way by using these women that we don't often hear about and tell a little bit about their story and the emotion behind them, I just think that is golden, and certainly would appeal to me. Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that, because that could actually tie in with like number 5, I had patterns, but 6, I had emotions. Since I would have that as separate category. So Mom, so this is how the content 6 works. You can pull from all 6 to work together. So what you could do, and I know Jean might love this idea, Mom. What if you took some of these characters that we don't hear so much about, and why don't I give them a personality profile? Here's how she reacted. That is very similar to the Enneagram the DISC this, and the Myers-Briggs this. Yeah. If you concluded all 3, then it didn't matter which one people liked. They would still be able to get that. And then make it a conversation. Do you agree? Because you're not coming up here saying, I'm the expert on this. It's, are you this type? And do you find yourself acting in the same way? Now, all of a sudden, everyone can share their opinion, and you're building a community around this, but you're pulling in the psychology people with the Bible aspect too. Actually, I really love that. I would be all over that.
I like that too. That's a great idea to do.
It's a real hook. It's a real hook to get people's curiosity and the people who come there. I think that's a great idea.
And it works with your patterns. Because all of that is pattern based to an extent, and patterns would be another one, which also then would go into crafts. So you could look at patterns and all kinds of things and have that as a very easy post. And I don't know, I think you've got a lot, you've got so much. You've got more content than probably there are days to handle the content. But I think, and you can change any of those, but those 6 would work so well hand in hand. And then you can just say every day, if you only want to post once to get started per day, then I would say whatever thing you're doing for the week on an emotion or a Bible character, that spreads the content for the whole week. And so 1 post a day on Instagram, you've got 6 content things here. So you could choose, okay, Monday's going to be Bible study, Tuesday it's going to be personal and crafts, kind of all tying together, then 7 could be a bonus picture. That's one way to use content 6 if you're not sure how to post and you're just trying to get used to posting every day, on Instagram specifically. And then anything that you're doing with this on Pinterest, for example, because people use Pinterest for research, especially how do I run a women's group? How do I run a women's retreat? Kind of like same things we were talking about with Dory. Pinterest is where people go to look for that kind of stuff. So I would have a board there of the different characters. I would definitely have a personality profiles boards, and I would be pinning the Bible characters into those boards too. So when someone goes there for Enneagram 3, they're going to see, oh, you might be like this Bible character, I know the 3. And these are the crafts that you might do based on your personality type. So you're not branding yourself as a personality expert, but you are using that as the gateway to pull in all the Bible study stuff and then intermixing it that way too. I'm actually excited to read your stuff. I'm like, is it ready now? Because I want to read it. Okay, so that's kind of that's probably my 15 minutes worth of mini marketing session. But I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Can you name the 6 content categories that you mentioned again?
Sure. I had Bible studies. The second one, personal/crafts, or it could just be crafts. Then 3, I added in balance, career, and faith. If you wanted to go that route, that would be one that I would pull in or out depending on what you wanted to do. I think 4, nonprofits would be great because you're involved in that. And then you can document your day. So if you're going to a meeting, then that's something very natural to post about that. And then you could be sharing information about the nonprofit. 5 was patterns, and that's just broad. Patterns in crafting, patterns in life, patterns in emotions, patterns, whatever you want it to be. And then 6, just emotions, starting going into that psychology a little bit, pulling it in, and then starting conversations around those topics. And I would start following some of the people who have big followings on Instagram with that, because they share a lot of content. And I would read the comments. What are people saying? What do they get excited about? Are they tagging people to come see that content? Then create something similar to what they're doing, but in your style, and watch that. And I would definitely get a Facebook author page. I said this before we went on air. I always pay attention to the people who are winning and what are they doing. Behavior trumps, for me, almost everything. So the day that I see some of these really big people jump off their Facebook page, I will be off my Facebook page. But if algorithms are changing and they're still rolling, I'm going to keep rolling too. And the other thing is, Gary Vaynerchuk, who you know I love, he says the algorithm is a good thing because you can't spam people. They're only seeing content if they've interacted with you, and the more they interact, the more content they see. So you're putting 4 things out on Facebook author page. It's a small percentage of people who see it, and they're only seeing it if they actually like it. And so then you can build your engagement rate that way, you know, over time. And then my last thing, what I do is I put Instagram business profile, and I use my Facebook author page. And so whatever I post on Instagram is the only time I do an auto share straight to my Facebook author page, because those audiences are the same for me, and they're probably the same for you. But my personal wall people are not my Instagram people, and they are not my author page people. Same content gets totally different traction. So when I post on Instagram, I do 2 more steps. I don't put handles usually in my caption. I tag them instead in the photo for Instagram, and I don't put hashtags in right away. So I create the caption in Instagram to look native to Facebook, because when it pushes over, it's going to be fine there because I created it for Facebook author page. That's why the handles aren't there, because they don't connect, right? And then I just go right back in. I copy from my notes app my hashtags that I'm going to use, and then I paste that into Instagram. So now my hashtags are pulling from that photo. I've been doing that for like 6 months now. 7 years, nothing on my Facebook author page. Like nobody cared. But I started doing that, and my engagement rates were like 3,000, 4,000%. So my number of followers is low, but my engagement rates are getting really high. And now I can start monitoring content, what content's working and what's not, because I've been doing it long enough now to see that. So that's my recommendation. Then you're not messing with your Facebook author page, except to go in and answer comments. And that's all I do there. Everything else is done over on Instagram. So it's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay, so should I just create a Facebook? Should I say author Marlene Houk? There are so many of those on there. Or should I say 1, 2, 3 because it's a number? Or should I say Marlene Houk Divine Drama? What should I name it?
I would start with your author name. I wouldn't tie it to a book.
I wouldn't either.
And because you're not
building
building
author.
Only if you have to.
Yeah, people know the difference between a page and a profile, so you can have your name there. I mean, I've done it all different ways. Right now, I wish I could go to like more of a tagline basis, but Facebook won't let me change it for whatever reason. But I would just go Marlene Houk.
Okay, and just create it, not try to create a big excitement around it. Just create it.
Just create it.
Okay.
I don't know how excited people are about Facebook pages. They're just looking for content. You know, I mean, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook pages.
You what?
I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook pages unless they've got a lot of content and I'm like scrolling because it's funny or like it's informational. And when I do that, I think, why did I spend 2 minutes on this page? And then I go back and look and say, okay, what can I do similar? Because obviously that caught my attention. Behavior. Always looking at behavior. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. No one's going to be excited that you have a Facebook author page. So I wouldn't make a big deal about it. I would just make it.
Okay. Thank you. That was very good.
Yay.
I had a question. Bethany, for those of us who are not like really technically or social media savvy, define handle. When you were saying you don't put the handle on there.
Username.
Okay.
I don't put like at.
Okay.
Like my sister's at Clothes and Curves.
Mm-hmm.
If I put that in there, it'll look like that on Facebook, my author page. So when I share it over, but my Facebook audience doesn't know who at Clothes and Curves is, and it doesn't link like
Right.
it would in Instagram.
Right.
So I write her name and I'll tag her in the photo, right?
Okay.
So people can find her that way. But it saves so much time, and my engagement's just gone really high doing that. Consistent. That's the one thing I've been consistent in. I'm not consistent in much, but that is one
And
thing.
then you would put at Clothes and Curves in the comment section.
No, I just tag her in the photo because
You
she's going to
tag
get a
her.
notification, right?
Okay.
Like that she's been tagged,
Right.
and that's all we needed anyway. And people know to touch the photo if they, they can touch the
Right.
photo and see the tag.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we started
Thank
late.
you.
So I feel like, oh, you're welcome. So
Thank you.
I think
We
we
did
still have
start
15
late,
minutes.
so yeah, we're fine. We're
Okay.
fine.
Okay, Stephanie.
Come on, Stephanie.
Hi.
We made it.
First of all, thank you so much, Bethany, for having me. Johnny, Alexander, honored guests. I do Toastmasters.
Oh, wow.
Fun.
That's great.
I was too scared to ever start Toastmasters.
I mean,
It's
Do
very
it.
fun.
Do it. You'll
get up
love
that
it.
early. The ones I was close to, they always like started like at 7 or 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, nah. I don't think so.
I know, that's too early for me too.
Yeah.
Stephanie. Okay, I had some ideas. I'm excited to talk about.
Oh, thank you.
I have marketing ideas.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so let's do the same thing. Why don't you share with us about the book?
My book is a women's fiction. It has some dystopian elements. It's a little bit like Terry Blackstock's book. Mine is The Fall of Light. What would happen if all of a sudden the electricity goes out and your family, as they usually are after school, is scattered all over town? How do you get everyone back together? So that's a little bit, and how do they survive? I'm done writing, or well, I keep on tweaking. I still keep tweaking, but it's ready. I need to set it down, say it's done.
Okay. So I have to apologize to Marlene because you're probably like, why do you keep saying the words balancing career and home? It's because it was on Stephanie's paper. So that's why. So erase that from your content 6 months. It was in my head, but now I know why. I even underlined it on your paper, Stephanie. That's why I looked down. I'm like, oh, wrong person. I'm so sorry.
That's awesome.
Marlene, you're so sweet to not be like, Bethany, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said it like 5 times. Okay. Okay. So this is fiction. So what I like to do when we have fiction clients, novelists, mostly because my mom has trained me in this way, because we're always talking about how to market her novels, is pulling nonfiction elements out of the book and then using that to create articles and build the platform that you need, because that's where your readers are. So when you're interested in certain topics, that's you'd like to read books that have those elements in them, right? So this way you're actually going after readers, and you're not just going after other writers who write novels. And that can be hard to do. I mean, serious writer, we're going after writers. Like, that's not our readers if you're an author, and it's hard to separate it. So I think it's the best way to do it. And I think over time, because all of this is a marathon, you start building people who trust you because of those little elements. Now, the harder thing is with novelists, I think, is there's so many nonfiction things in your book. And so how do you figure out which ones to identify? Because my mom has this one book, and there's a 4th of July thing, and then there's a chili recipe. It has nothing to do with the book. It's just a scene. But I always go to that, and I'm like, that's perfect for marketing. Chili is like big right now. Mom, this is for you. 4th of July, evergreen. So like, you can have someone kind of go through your book and start picking out stuff, but you could pull an entire year of content from a novel, which is a blessing. So
those are actually 2 different books. So yeah, those are 2 different stories, but they're in the same series. But real quick, I want to go back to what you said, just to reiterate it a little bit more, because, and this may be true in the nonfiction world too, but as you get more and more into the writing world, your friends are writers. We were talking like on the Facebook group, how, we have all these Facebook writing friends that we don't even really know, but you know, we're engaged with them. And it does, and it's so easy. And I think we all do it, where we get into this thing where we are marketing to each other. But you know, I can only buy so many books a year. I cannot buy every single person who I love necessarily their book. You know, it's you can't read them all and all this. So it really is important to, yes, immerse yourself in the novelist writing community, but also remember that is not your audience. And I think we get trapped in, I feel like I'm still kind of trapped in that, you know, how do I get out of that to reach readers?
Yeah, I agree. 100%. And I think that going back to, I think it was Marlene that I said this to, finding books in the same genre, books that you would put in your comps for a proposal, those books should be rotating on your social media, or maybe do a review of those books too, because obviously those books are doing well. It doesn't take anything away from you to promote them. It actually aligns you with that author who's having that success. And so that would be another way to find readers, is, and then see what every group, and some are bigger than others. Dystopian, I'm so excited that you said that, because that's one of my favorite genres, and there's so much you can pull. So okay, there's so much I want to say. Okay, I'm gonna be a little scattered for a second. Let's talk about newsjacking. Do we know what newsjacking is? So if something is happening, current events, newsjacking is when someone takes the marketing power that someone else is handling and you offshoot it for your own brand. So if you're familiar with the Popeyes spicy chicken social media war, where people know about this, I'm not sure I explain it.
You should probably explain a little bit, because I still have not had one of those chicken.
Me either. Okay, so actually, I used this as an example in my grad class, and my professor said she liked it, so she said that was excellent. And I was like, great. Newsjacking. Popeyes came out with a spicy chicken sandwich. They released it. Things were fine. When they put their picture up, they highlighted the characteristics. It's a buttered brioche bun with pickles. Any other company have a chicken sandwich with a buttered brioche bun and pickles? That would be Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A responded to their tweet. I forgot what they said. But then Popeyes on Twitter came back and said, y'all good? Because they were kind of like talking about the copycat. Twitter went nuts. They said that Popeyes received like $32 million in free ad spend from the Twitter war that happened over the sandwich. My aunt, I don't have to tell us on air, it's too late, I stepped into it. But she's like, I never do this, but she waited an hour in a drive-thru to get one. People were wrapped, I mean, this is nationwide, this happened. $32 million in free ad money would have cost them to get where they're sold out. They have been sold out for weeks because they didn't expect the demand. They were selling 1,000 of these a day and completely ran out. It's not even back yet. So newsjacking, we're going to go late, y'all. I'm sorry. I have to tell you. So newsjacking, if you go back and look, McDonald's is talking about spicy. As soon as that happened, Wendy's started talking about their spicy nuggets. They brought them back. I think McDonald's now just launched a spicy burger or spicy chicken, something that's brand new. They're newsjacking off of the Popeyes Chick-fil-A thing. Smart. You can't get theirs. Guess what? We're going to talk about spicy everything right now. So paying attention, and that's where Twitter is an amazing platform, right? Because we dismiss Twitter because it's conversational. But when you can get involved, don't feud with people, but brands that are paying attention and talking with their customers and things, that's insane what happened with that. And that was just recent. So anytime you can take something that's happening in real life and pull it in, dystopian is so great because people love to talk about that stuff. Now, I am going to say this. I don't want to get flack for it because I didn't research this at all. But I keep hearing about Area 51. People are going crazy.
Oh, right.
Like, you might, and I don't know because I have not reached it, but is there a thread that you can explore there? A writing prompt? Or, I don't know, anything that survival, that mystique that comes around those kinds of things, that would be something I would totally be moving towards, so that way you're involved in those conversations. It's probably happening on Twitter, so I would be paying attention to Twitter and any kind of, we call it speculative fiction, and Christian market. They have a huge following, fantasy in particular, even though this isn't a fantasy thing. I would start looking at the fantasy and the dystopian on Instagram, find all the hashtags that are using internally, and just start paying attention to the books. It's usually readers, and they're talking about books. They have some of the prettiest Instagram pictures ever. What books are they talking about? I would start reading them or looking through them anyway, and start getting conversations in and connecting with them on the book side. I think that's where you're going to find a lot of readers who love the genre because they just inhale it. It's one of those ones people just can't get enough of. So that is one thing.
Even though it's not really fantasy, it's more real life.
Yeah, I would start there to segue into like. I know that group is huge on Instagram, so I would maybe start there looking for hashtags. I would start researching and then breaking it down. I would also search for dystopian as well. And then you have the Southern. So like I love that play on this because Southern stuff goes viral. I mean, there's groups on Facebook. They do that like Southern Life, and it's all like making fun of like the South in a nice way. I would be sharing every video that they do with your audience. Maybe watch the video and don't just share it. I would have a comment or something like specifically on Facebook, like, the humidity today is 90 degrees and my hair looks like this, you know, and then share the video where they're talking about the humidity because they're already doing the work for you and you're doing a service to your audience who likes that kind of stuff by pushing it on. I would also be Southern recipes so that you're aligning yourself underneath the Southern brand, but then you're also aligning yourself with the readers of dystopian. Does that make sense? Any movies that are coming out in that, I would be all about it. I would be doing reviews on them, even past ones. You can take the same idea. We're talking about Annette with the homeschool. I would create these resources for your website and then on social, like 10 best movies in, you know, I keep saying dystopian. You can change out the genre for anything. You know, 10 best dystopian movies on Netflix right now, because a lot of people have Netflix subscriptions, or Amazon Prime, or Hulu. Like, I would do all three. That way, whoever has subscriptions to those can find them. And then you could even do like a little rating, you know, like a little warning, like don't watch this with your kids, or, you know, because it's not some of them aren't kid friendly. You could even put a little Bible slant on it if you want to, if you're reaching that Christian audience or the clean audience. And you can say, okay, here's what you're expecting. So now not only are you the person who's writing it, but they can trust you to say, okay, there's going to be a scene around, I don't know, minute 45 that just warning. Because the thing is, people watch all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, but at least you're giving them that like little fair thing. That's a piece of value, right? That people like. And then you're doing 2 or 3 blogs a week. If that's working for you, then I would keep it up. Or what, honestly, maybe a tactic to try if it's not working. If it's working, keep going. If it's not working, maybe go to 1 blog or vlog per week and then start, instead of putting the time into writing 2 more blog posts, I would take all those and put them into articles and start submitting them to like 10 places a week so that you're freelance stuff too. Like, good. Socials, this is also going to be articles. And so I would really start expanding your publication credits that way as you're building the brand for this. So really, you wouldn't even really need a content 6. You could probably do it with a content 4 if you wanted to go super deep on the writing and books in that genre and the Southern stuff. And then maybe a couple personal things too that you love that you want to be focused on. But then I would create this little bubble and just go all in on those things because they're so wide.
Right. Now, what if this is dystopian as a one-time thing and I don't want to necessarily be known as the dystopian writer? I want the Southern women's fiction because I really want to get better at maybe family sagas.
I think that as writers, we get really afraid of branding ourselves in one place. Me too. Like, I still steer away from promoting my first book because it's a dating book and I don't want to be the dating person. But that's like a falsehood in our minds because it takes years on branding on one thing to be known as like that person. So do the Southern, go full force on dystopian, build that audience. And then when you're ready to pivot into the other genre that you're going there, you just pivot. And here's the thing, these readers might follow you because people read in multiple genres, right? I mean, like J.K. Rowling, is it her? That's not a good example. People who follow big people, they'll read the other things that they do. Like, actually, this is a good example because I'm pretty sure it was her. She published a children's book and it didn't do well until because she wrote it under a pen name. And
It
then
wasn't a children's book, Bethany. I think it was an adult, like, detective story or mystery or something like that. It was
there's
a story.
There is a famous author, it may not be J.K. Rowling, who did a children's book under a pen name because it was so different than the books that they had done. And when they, it wasn't doing well. And so they released, oh my gosh, it's actually her. It became a bestseller, like, because of the loyalty. So that's what you want to do. This is an encouragement. I'm talking to myself here. I think we need to go deep on the books that we've got and the branding that we've got now. Because if you're doing things like content 6 or content 4, there's enough room there for us to pivot within that and then bring those people along with us if they want to, you know?
And also, you know, we're having some comments in the chat about this, about being authentic and all of that. And I think because I write in multiple genres too, and it is kind of hard because I sort of envy the people that just write one thing and they become known for that. And then that happens, but that just wasn't the path God set me on. And so here I am, and I'm thankful for it. But there's a voice. I mean, so it's like my voice, I think, is the same. And I wrote this little silly novella. I mean, it's just this little breezy kind of thing, and it's fun and all. And I was looking at the reviews the other day on Goodreads, and someone in there wrote how much she appreciated the word images. And it was like, oh my gosh, because I get that on my other stories too. But it's like I didn't even realize I had really done that in this breezy book that had a very small word count and all of that. So your voice is going to be the same, and if people like that voice, then they hopefully will try out your other genres.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And I'll say, like, so much of the stuff that we're talking about, it worked for everyone, even though we've got 3 different genres today. And part of the campaign stuff, where I've been looking for the secret sauce, but it really boils down, like, I think RACE is one of the ones is an acronym for it, and I can't remember what the N is, but basically it's like you research, and then I think it's assess, but you figure out your strategy, and then you do the strategy, and then you analyze the strategy, you evaluate is the E. I can't remember. There's like, there's like multiple acronyms based off this one thing, but it's just those 4 steps. Like you're researching, you're strategizing, you're executing, and then you're evaluating. And that's all we're doing, just using the different platforms that we are in different ways. And so I think the big thing is to try some of these stuff, because we know it works.
Right.
It just depends on hitting the right, and then all it comes down to is the content. Is the content hitting with your audience? And like once those elements are in place, like I'm going to blog just an example, I'm going to blog once a week. I'm going to pull 5 articles out of the blog. I'm going to use that for social media for these 5 days. Like when you become consistent with like your schedule, now over time you can say people love memes. They're not liking when I do this. And so that gets switched out for something else. And then you can start analyzing the content from it. And then you pivot, right, as needed. And that's really all it is. That is the PR campaign breakdown. That's what it was. That's it.
We had a question, Bethany, about why content 6 for one person and why content 4 for another, I believe is what she means by that. I could be wrong.
That was just a Bethany thought, going through, looking at the information that Stephanie sent over. I think she could narrow it down to 4 things. I mean, we didn't go through all of her 6, but because Southern can cover so many small things, it's such a broad category, typically someone might have to pull those into 2 or 3 different umbrellas. And I think a lot of that can go underneath one, like memes, recipes, anything Southern can go, literally anything. People who are Southern love it. And then the writing and the books and the genre can all be also underneath the same category. So really you only need a couple more, because I think you can get so much content from those 2 things. I think if you focused, especially for a novelist, if you focus on those, then other elements can come out too. And I think for nonfiction, I think sometimes it's easier to have those. I like to have 6 for me as nonfiction, but like for my mom, it's hard to get 6 for you sometimes. Mom, because so much of it comes underneath the novel. Where for me, I would break it down into theme.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And Stephanie, don't forget to check the chat too, because also there's been some people in a mix. They've been helping each other out, which has been fascinating to read. But there's been a few ideas for you with the family theme that's been mentioned over there too. So you will want to go back and read that.
Got it.
Oh, balancing career. That was that was yours. So that could be that would be a nonfiction thing to pull in with that. And then reclaiming the power of love. So you could have a love content. So we might be able to get 6 out of this after all. And then meaning of success. So those were all 3 themes that you pulled from your book. So apart from genre, so career and home, meaning of success, and power of love. So actually, you probably could get 6 out of that completely. And then when you work on a different kind of book, then you can sub those out. But sometimes those themes carry through to other work. And then, the content 6. So I can't wait to go back and read the chat because I've missed it all day. It's just basically you create like 6 little umbrella categories, and then underneath those broad categories, you would pick for yourself like what would go underneath of there. So writing could be one for all of us. And if we picked 6 things underneath writing, they would be different for each one of us, what we would want to share or post. So, all right, it's 12:15. I know we went over.
I know, but we started late today too, and this has been absolutely wonderful. So many ideas. I think these not just the 3 that we featured today. I think we all got some ideas out of this. So Bethany, thank you, Annette and Marlene and Stephanie for being willing. And Johnny, I believe you are going to lead next week.
Oh gosh, I forgot to look and see. What are we doing next week?
Nano, right.
We're doing nano prep. Yeah. October is Preptober for everybody involved in NaNoWriMo. Just really quick, NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month, where we write 50,000 unedited words in the month of November. We have some people who are doing that. We have some people who are working on projects already, and we have a couple people I know that are going to be editing. So they're actually doing like Nano Edmo or something like that. So if you want to be part of our group, we have a Facebook group. I think it's called Serious Writers NaNoWriMo, something like that. And you're more than welcome to join us there. And yeah, this month we're prepping for NaNoWriMo, and we're going to be talking about that next week. So
that'll be great. And nonfiction people can learn a lot.
Absolutely. There are rebels, NaNoWriMo rebels, and they write nonfiction instead of fiction. Jeannie's done that before. So.
I did 2 different years to really flesh out an idea, so we could talk about that a little bit next week.
You can do that too. So yeah, it's everybody can be involved in it, and we just invite you to do that. And if you do sign up at nanowrimo.org and create a profile, let us know your buddy name or find us, and we can all be buddies together, which is also fun as you start trying, to record your word counts and all that kind of thing. So I think I'm doing it. Bethany just told me she's doing it. Who else? Marlene? What?
I'm going to try fiction.
Yes, good for you. Yay, my girl. And so, we've got several people in the chat that I know are doing it. So we're gonna have a good time.
Good discussion next week. So let's wrap up the recording because we are getting long. So, and then we'll invite everybody back on for kind of an after party here, and we'll celebrate and talk and ask any final questions that way. But we thank you all for being with us today. We had quite a few in the chat, and you guys were really helping each other. And again, we've said it before, this Writers Chat community is so supportive and encouraging and helpful to one another. I'm glad we found each other. I'm blessed each time we do that. So, and again, thank you, Stephanie and Marlene, Annette, and Bethany for all the work. For doing these. Actually, the last 2 weeks we've done kind of a marketing brainstorm and stuff. I have a feeling people will want us to try it again, so we'll try to bring it back around again.
Before I stop the recording, Joe, did you want to make an announcement about next week for Yahweh Sister Book Club?
Yes, I do. It's actually this Thursday.
Thursday.
Yes, I have Bethany and Michelle, and we're going to be discussing Platinum Faith, which you want to hold that up?
I do.
There you go. I'm very excited about it.
Look at the sign. It shines.
This is the first time we're going to have co-authors.
That was fun.
Hey.
Yes, so we're very excited.
Very excited.
But we're excited. Congratulations, Bethany. Today is the official release day. And we're all celebrating, and we encourage you to go buy the book. Go buy the book. Make it number one on that one. On that one. Congratulations, Bethany, and stuff like that. So we'll see you all next week.
Okay.
Bye now.
Everyone.